Yo guys, JJ here, back with another episode. In this episode, I'm going to be showing you guys how you can stack items. I'm going to be fixing some problems with the item being thrown out in the weird direction that it was. Like, if you pick up an item, just throwing it out will throw it out like right to the ground, or it's in the same direction, the weird directions, stuff like that. So we're going to be fixing that so it gets thrown out actually in front of you. That's something very simple. Then we're going to be fixing the not fixing, we're going to be adding the feature of stacking, and then we're going to be adding the feature of splitting stacks. So we're going to cover all that in this episode. If we get to it, we could delve into a little bit of animation, so the object, when it hits the ground, it will start spinning or whatever very slowly, so something simple like that. So let's get straight into it. So first off, I actually want to show you something that we haven't done. So go into the prefabs. Actually, this is something we have done. So right into the entities, we're just going to duplicate this, and we're just going to rename it iron ingot. So this is just something we need to do. And then we're going to just grab the iron ingot, and that's all set. So I'm just going to no, the position's fine. So that's all I wanted to do about that. So that's fine. Also, yeah, let's just get straight into the code. So right in inventory controller, we're going to go right to the bottom where it says drop item. To fix that problem, we need to go into the current item where we instantiate the item. Then we right in player, we're going to space plus, and then player dot transform dot forward. So that gets thrown out in the player's position plus the player transform forward. So it's plus whatever direction it's looking. So after that, then we're gonna go down here, and actually we do not need this right here. So we're just gonna delete that. And then we're gonna add the so current item dot transform dot look at, and we want it to look at you, the player. So dot transform dot position. Okay, so that makes it look at you, so wherever direction you throw it out, it will be facing your direction. So after that, then we want to say current item dot get component, and this component is going to be the rigid body. And what are we going to be getting? We're going to actually get the velocity that it's traveling at. So that plus, actually no, equals actually no, it is plus. So plus the player dot transform dot forward. So it gets thrown out in the forward direction. So after this, actually no, it is equals. What am I talking about? So it's equals that direction, and then this actually should be all you need. So just save that. It's very simple. So just save that, and now we go into the game view, pick up the object, and then we try throwing it out, and it gets thrown out right in front of us. And we turn to the side, we can open our inventory and throw this one out, and see, notice they're in different directions. So when it gets thrown out, it's in your direction, which is good. Awesome. So after that, what we want to do is we want to add the stacking. So right up here, we're first off going to add the integer. So private int, and this is going to be stack count. Actually, no, item count. I want to do that. Item count. Okay. And just like all the others, I'm going to make the first one a lowercase. So item count, and then just save that. We'll deal with that later. So I'll actually want to go into the item itself and add the text. So right into slots. The first slot, we're going to start with the copper ingot. So we're going to add UI text. So this text is going to be where the numbers are. So we're just going to orient the text in the proper manner. So take the text box, first rename it to item count. Okay. And now, now we want to orient it. So width of about 80, then height. Okay, so about, I'm going to say 22. Good. And then position X. Actually, no, I'm just going to leave this 0. So position X is 0. Height 30. Yeah, that should be good. Actually, we can lower that to around 20. And then we're just going to move this up a little more. See what it looks like there. Okay. So now what we're going to do is we're going to add, say, 1. So we don't want it in the left corner. We want it in the right. So we're just going to have that over there. In the middle. Yeah, in the middle. We need to orient this a little less. So a little less in that direction. Okay, I want it to be a little bit bigger than that. Oh. So I'm going to make it a bit bigger. So just take the width, make it 66, height 22. Okay. And the font size, we're going to say 16. I like that better. Okay, so 16 is good for font size. And it's in the middle. Perfect. Now we're just going to lower it a little bit. So about 24. So now, whenever we want to add more numbers, it will go towards the left. So it'll only go to about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So 7 numbers before it starts to go off the screen. So we probably won't ever have that many. We'll probably set a max of about 200 or whatever. It depends on the item itself. So it really depends on what you want. If for your game, if you want a limit of like 500 or 200 or like 64, like Minecraft or whatever like that. I mean, it doesn't matter. You could just set each item's their own limit. So first off, we did that. So now we just need to add that item count to the actual prefab. So we're just going to save this. So apply. And that way it saves it down here. So in this prefab, actually no, I'm gonna just copy this and paste it in here into the iron ingot. Perfect. Okay, so this, you need to zero that out in position so that way it won't show. So in the item count, we'll add 1 to that, and we'll add 1 to this just to see if make sure. Yep. Okay. Perfect. So when there's one item, we don't want it to show how many items because it'll show 1, and that just doesn't look as good. So we'll just leave it blank when it has 1 item. So when it's 2 items, so we'll show 2, and then above that we'll have the number for that, how many items. So there's 1 item, so we don't need a number, and we'll just do that in the code just to make sure that it doesn't show if it has only 1 item, which is very simple. So after that, we need to make sure this gets applied. So go into the iron ingots, apply, and perfect. So we're actually going to need to add a script to these item count. So add a component script, new script, and it's just going to be item count. Okay, so perfect. Now we just need to add it to this. So add scripts, item count. Perfect. Okay, so in the item count, we need to find it first. Just drag it over to scripts, go into scripts, go into the item count, and we'll start to deal with this. So in here, we want to using the Unity engine, come on, Unity engine.ui. Good. Okay, and then after that, we're gonna add a couple of variables. So the first one, actually, yeah, a couple of variables. So the first one's gonna be per public item count, but it's an integer, so int item count. We're gonna set it to nothing for now. So in the start, we don't need that. In the update, we're just gonna say, actually, we also need to do the text. So the public, no, we don't need that. Actually, it's totally fine. So over here, we're gonna just say if the item count is equal to 0, or, so we're just gonna add this, so that means or item count is equal to 1. So if it's 0 or 1, it shouldn't ever be 0. That's just in case it ends up making itself 0 for some reason. I don't know why. It could happen. So if it's 0 or 1, then what we'll do is we'll just say the text, actually no, this dot get component text dot, no, parentheses dot text equals nothing. So we got to make sure that if it has if there's only one item or less, that, I mean, we could actually just say if the item count is 1 or is less than 2. Yeah, I'm just going to do that. There we go. So if the item count is less than 2, or just say equal, less than or equal to 1, then we're just going to say the text is nothing. So after that, we actually don't need anything after that. We're just going to say else. Then if it just so happens it's above that, then we're just going to make it so the text, text get component and the text dot text equals the item count. So it will equal the item count dot toString. Okay, so if it just so happens it's above 1, so just any time it will be above 1. If we add an item, it'll be above 1. So at that moment, then it will equal, it'll say this else statement, then it'll equal the item count. So it'll equal how many items are in it. So it's very simple. After that, so I'm just gonna, there we go, and tab these up. These are too close. Okay, so after that, we want to add another function. So this is gonna be a public void, and it's gonna be called add item. Okay. And this essentially I'm taking a integer in. So int I'm just gonna say count. Okay. So when we call this from a different class from a different script, we're gonna be referencing this, and then we're gonna say how many items. We're just gonna actually just send the item count in, and it will get the item count. So after that, well, what do we want? We want it to say the item count is equal. Actually, no, plus equals the count. So item count plus equals count. And then, actually, that's basically it for now. We're going to add some more to this after we add it in the other scripts. So in this script, what do we want to do? We actually need to go down to where we drop the item. So if we drop the item, it should be mouse button up. Okay, so mouse button up, write down selected slide item that child count equals negative 0. Okay, so if the child count is 0, so after this, yeah, it's after this. So if selected slot child count original slot local position. So after this, we're gonna say if the selected slot dot get child, and then we're gonna get child 0. Then actually after we get the child dot, we're gonna get the name. So dot name. I was having brain fart for there for a second. So after we get the child, we're gonna get the child name. So if the child name is equal to our current selected item, so if the name is the same as the one we're holding, then we want to add the items together. So after that, we're just gonna say after we get the name and the child. After we know that it's the same item, we want to add them. So how do we add them? So we're gonna say the selected item dot child count. Actually, no, that's selected item dot. No, this is wrong. It's selected slot dot get child number 0 dot get child. We're gonna do it again, which in this case, after we get the child twice, what will be in the item count. So that's the second child. The item count is the second child. So after we get the child the second time, we'll be in the item count, and we'll be able to get the item count. So we'll be able to get the item count. No, what am I doing? Dot get component. And item count. And inside item count. Okay, so after we get the child, then we're going to get the component, the script, and inside the script, we're just going to get the item count. So how many items are in that object? So after that, okay, so first we need to fix is this right here. I just noticed that. So there's that. Okay, so item count, okay, plus equals. Then we just enter the selected item dot get child 0. I'm gonna make it symmetrical. So 0 dot get component, because it's already the selected item is already the item. It's not the slot. So We don't need to do it twice. So then we get the component, and this is going to be the same thing. So item count right there. Oh, where'd I go? There you go. So item count, that item count, and that's that. Okay, so that needs to be tabbed over. So after this, we're going to make sure it deletes the item. So the game object dot destroy object, and it's going to be the selected item dot game object. Okay, so after that, we also want to do this. So right down here, just to make sure it doesn't mess around with the slots, we actually have to make this an else. So, or else it will do, or else it'll do both this and this, and we don't want it to switch around the slots. So we want to keep the same slot. So then that, and there we go. So save that, and that should be good. Here, we're gonna go over here, click play. Okay, so there's some errors. So first one, operator cannot be applied to string to string. Okay, I know what that is. So we go into the game object. It should be, okay, yeah, it's right here. So we're not referencing right. So the dot name equals the item dot name. Okay, that should be good. Let's see if there's any other errors. That should be it. Okay, so let's play. Let's see if we get anything. Okay, so drop it over here. Okay, we got another error. So what is this? Go into the inventory. Okay, select the child. Okay, we gotta make sure that it actually has the item. Okay, see how this is black down here? So that means that this item is not the same as the prefab. Yeah, see, it doesn't have the script down here, so we just want to just click apply, and it'll save the settings. We also want to make sure it starts at 1. So let's see, starts at a 1. Okay, this doesn't have it. I'm just gonna make this start at 1 and then apply that. Okay, so that should be fixed for that. Okay, now let's see if we just for extra precaution, I want to go over to the inventory and just drop this same item in. Okay. Also the entity. Okay, so the entities don't have it, but I don't need to have that same script because I will just change something in the entity where it keeps the information about how many items it has. So after that, we're just gonna hit play, see if it works. It should be fine. So we just drag it over. Perfect. Okay, so I want to try it with multiple items. So first, right down here into prefabs. Just gonna drop a couple copper ingots into random places. Okay. Now I'm gonna hit play. Let's see if it should be fine. So 2, 3, 4, 5, and we can. Okay, so now let's see what happens if we drop this. So we cue it out, and we pick it up. Okay, it's a 1. So reset it. So let's see. Yeah, the item. There's no. Okay, so there's only one. There's only one item count. So we need to fix that. So how do we do that? So we're gonna go into the code. We'll go right down to where it drops the item. So drop item. Okay, so down here we're gonna say current item dot get component, and we're gonna get the entity. Okay, so that's the script name. So after we get the entity, we're gonna say. Okay, so after we get the entity, we actually need to go over into entity first. So we're just gonna reference this. So public. Yeah, public. int, and this is going to be item count. Okay, and save that. So over here, I believe, item. Okay, so right here on the when we add the item, so add item, game object name, we want to do an extra thing where we'll be saving the item count. So game object name, and then we're gonna say item count. Okay, so that's the add item. So when we drop an item, it should be, actually, is it down here? I don't think it is. Wait a second. When we drop an item, it will go. Okay, so right here is where it instantiates the item. Okay, so that's just the, okay. Okay, so I said okay like 7 times right then. So after we do that, we're just gonna take the item count dot, actually no, so the item count is equal to the game object. Okay, it should equal to, so where is it that we drop the item? So when we drop the item, we need to save that. So drop item, we drop the item. So if that's up here, should be up here where we click Q. Okay, so if we click Q to drop the item, we need to save its select that item dot item count. No. Yeah, select that item dot get child 0. Oh, wrong thing. So 0 dot get component, and this is gonna be item count dot item count, and so we're just gonna send this number right here. So we're sending that through to drop item, and then we're gonna pick it up by drop item. So item count, actually no, int count. Okay. So when we drop the item, it will drop the item with its item count. Yes. Okay. So the item, okay, entity size name equals select item name. Actually, we could have even done it very simpler. So I'm just gonna take this simpler. That's a word. So I'm just gonna take that up here. Just remove this whole thing because we don't even need it because we're not referencing it to a separate class or a separate script. We're just referencing it down below. So we don't even need that. So we could just reference it right here. So right here, we're just gonna say selected item dot get child number 0 dot get component, and component what? Item count, and the item count. Okay, that should be good. Yes. Good. So now, when we add an item, string iname, so add an item, we actually, so this is the part where we added the thing in the entities. So right here, we're going to say another int. So in this case, we do need to reference it. So, and this is going to be count. Okay. After that, we want to just say down here that the current item dot get child. We first need to do the transform first. Dot get child. Child number 0 and get component. This is gonna be the item, same thing, item count. Dot item count equals count. Okay, so that is good. So we're just saying that the current item's item count is equal to this number right here, which is brought in by entities. I'm just gonna save this. So brought in by here. So save that. Yeah, item count right here. So the item count gets brought in, gets set to it down here. So the current entity item count is equal to the item count. Then in here, we just reference the item count and we send it out. So that should be correct. I'm going to save this. Yeah, this right here, I don't really need this. Yeah, I'm just going to delete that. I want that. I'm just going to delete the other thing. So we saved that. That's fine. Yeah. So now we should be good with this. Make sure it doesn't have any warnings, which it doesn't. It's perfectly fine. And we drop an item. Okay, so we lost something. Okay. So the first item, I just noticed that. So the first item, it didn't add. The reason for that is because it didn't have, yes, right here. See this item count? It's set to 0, so we're just gonna set it to 1. Okay. That should fix the problem. I'm gonna make sure down here, yes, set to 1. Apply, no, I don't want to apply that, so just save that. Now when we pick it up, it should be equal to 1, and we drop it, it should be fine. It looks great. Okay, now we drop this. If we drop this whole thing, it should equal 5. Just make sure down here, copying it 5. Perfect. So now we pick it up, and 5. Awesome. So now we're gonna just break it up. So we're gonna start by going into the code. We're gonna go right into the inventory controller, and we're actually just gonna drag. We're gonna copy most of this. So we're gonna copy right here. Don't grab this curly bracket. Just grab the one above it. So grab that all the way up to the if statement, the first if statement. So just copy that. Go up here, enter like 5 times, and paste it. And then we're gonna go up here and change all the 0s to 1s. So just right there, right down here, 1, right here. Well, not all the 0s, not like the get child 0, just the get mouse button 0. So change all those, just make sure you got those set. Then we're gonna go and, oh wait, no. We're gonna go here, just enter. So we're just gonna go and delete all this right here. We don't need that. Make sure you delete this as well. And then we're gonna start by doing a couple if statements. So if the selected item dot get component, actually no, get child dot, oh no, 0 dot get component is gonna be the item count and item count. So if the item count is divisible by 2, that's basically what that just says right there. So if the item count divided by 2 is equal to 0, or divisible by 2 is equal to 0, so if it's not divisible by 2, then it will be a odd number. If it is, then it's an even number. So this just checks to make sure it's even or odd. And after that, I'm going to just copy this whole thing because we're going to use it so many times. And you can't set it to, well, I haven't found a way to, but you can't set it to a variable because you need to update that variable every time you do it. And it's like, there might be a way. I'm pretty sure there is a way, but I haven't found it yet. So it's probably a simple way. So just copy this. If you guys want to make a way to make it more neat and more compact, then you can do that. But for now, it's actually going to be a bit chunky because we're just going to be doing this over and over again. So it's just checks to make sure it's an even number, and that's all we need for the even. So if it's even, we're going to say that the selected item count equals the selected item count divided by 2. So that's that. I'm just going to make that even. So after that, we're just going to say the add item. This is actually a function we have in here. We're just going to be using the same thing over again. So add item is right down here. This just is if we pick up an object, it adds the item. So we're going to be using the same thing. We actually do need to add something to this though. So we need to add if statement if count is greater than 1, greater or equal to 1. Then we'll go through this. Oh. So if it is, then we'll do this whole thing. So just move that up. So just to make sure that you don't have an object that you're duplicating that doesn't have that, just if it's only one object, you can't duplicate it, just to make sure that you don't accidentally do that. So there's that. We added that down there. So now all we need to do is we need to add the here, go all the way up top. So what we need to do is add the item name. So selected item dot name, then the count. So the count would be the same thing we have up here. So the selected item divided by 2. Oh, there we go. So that's that right there. So the even is done. Actually, before we do this, we actually do need to move this up a bit, because we want to make sure that it doesn't set the item count before we add the items. For the odd, we need to make sure it does that though, but for the even, it needs to be done like this. So the odd would be else we do this. Nope. Okay, so else we're gonna do a couple actually. There we go. So if the selected item is not even, so is not divisible by 2, and we do it by this, is not equal to 0. So then we're going to do another if statement. And this is if the selected item count is not equal to 1. That's just another precaution, just to make sure it doesn't equal 1, that you can't go further in the code. Then we'll do another if statement. And this one's going to be close to the other ones, but not exactly the same. So if this is less than 4. So for the odd numbers, if it's 5 and up, you need to add an extra count to it for reasons I don't know. It's just when you divide it by 2 and it's 3, it will take the 2 and then make it a 1, make the 1 that's there a 1, and you'll carry the 2. But if it's 5, it'll do the same thing. It'll send a 1, it'll drop a 1, and then you'll have 3. So we need to, for every odd number above 1, or every odd number above 3, we need to add that extra 1. So it's weird how it does it. I don't know why it does it like that, but we just need to do it. So so after that, after we made all the if statements work perfectly fine, then we'll just come on, there we go. So after all those, we need to say the selected item count equals the selected item count divided by 2, and it's actually good like that. Then we're gonna just add, come on. Then we're gonna add the add item, and actually add item, and the item's gonna be selected item dot name. Then we're gonna say the same thing, but instead of just doing divided by 2, we need to do divided by 2 plus 1. So this adds 1 to it. Actually, no. Never mind. We need to do the opposite. So instead of up there, we need to add it down here. Plus 1. So divided by 2 plus 1, and this is divided by 2. So after this, in the else statement, we're going to do basically the same thing. I'm just going to copy this and paste it down here. But instead of just this one, we're going to add it up here too. So it's going to be plus 1. And that should be it for this. So just save this, go back into the code. There shouldn't be any errors at all. Just hit play, pick up the object, drop it in. So I'm going to divide this. Okay, that's perfect. It divides it by 1 and then adds a 2. Makes it 2. And if we do 4, it'll say 2. Now if we do 5, perfect. Before, it would just make this one right here a 1 instead of a 2. So we divide it. Then we just add them all up. They should still equal 5. And if you hold right click, you can still drag it places. And if you keep clicking it, it'll divide it. So divide it again. And now in the next episode, we're going to be showing how you can make it so that if you're, say the object's here and you want to divide it in half, we'll just make it so that the one you pick up will basically, it'll look like it's coming out of it. So if you say you have this right here and you want to divide it, you want to have the 2 right here, keep the 2 here, and then just hold the 3. So I'll just show you how to do that in the next episode. Instead of it having to go to the sort slot, which is the first slot, we'll just do this. Alright, I guess that'll be it for this episode. I hope you guys liked it. Leave a like, subscribe, all that stuff, and I'll see you guys in the next episode. Peace out.